When we see something that we love, our eye pupils grow and more light comes in. We see the world brighter, brighter and more connected. What if we can change perspective on how we feel? How we imagine, what we do, and what we share? What if we can change perspective on how we live? How we build communities, how we build parks, how we transform places into parks? What about our future cities? How can we design differently? What if we gain a cosmic perspective? It is time, in my opinion, to solve problems not just with our mind, but also with our hearts. It is time for creativity and beauty to solve problems, and it can actually solve the most important problems. I'm Dror, which in Hebrew means freedom, and I don't like to be compartmentalized into one discipline, and this is why I call myself a comprehensivist. I run a vision-driven and idea-driven design practice in New York that questions everything, from a vase to a city. We like to work across all kinds of design and deal with different design typologies at every scale. We partner with the world best in class, so we don't have to have the knowledge always in our practice. Our goal is to inspire change. So I brought today a couple of examples from the last 15 years that made me realize certain things over the years and evolve from certain type of problems to larger and larger problems. The first one is having passion to creating connection. My very, very first product was a product that I created based on my own feeling. Moving to New York and realizing how I go through experiences that are quite difficult, almost like a broken vase. But I realized that those experiences are shaping me. They're actually making me the unique individual that I am, and I want to embrace them. So actually, I realized that when this product came to the market, people loved it, and it became Rosenthal bestseller product because everybody could relate to this idea of breakage, this idea of experience that shapes us. When we're thinking of our environment, folding chairs are always been the kind of chairs that as soon as my guests leave, I put in the closet and I hide. I'm actually not proud of it. What if I can actually let my guests sit on an art piece that I enjoy when they're not there? And I actually let them sit on the things that I love and actually have this relationship between art and design. It's function when I need it to have function, and it's basically for beauty when I don't need that kind of function. And then we realize that we simply need to collaborate with artists to have their own expression, to have their own understanding of what's two-dimensional and three-dimensional. When we were invited to think of the Central Park of Istanbul and to design the most important green space in Istanbul, we realized the city have no access to a lot of green spaces. And when people are not interacting with nature, they're afraid of nature. So what we realized is that we need to create a love affair, a love story between people and nature, and slowly transition them from something urban and familiar to something more and more rural, something more and more natural, and insert different types of experience that are making their journey unique, that are making their journey their own. Different experience that goes beyond natural walk, transforming above a certain tree height and getting to points where you jump above the treetop to actually understand the relationship of height within the forest. This chair was not created for Rihanna. it was actually created out of a breakup. When I felt very vulnerable, and I wasn't sure if I'm doing the right decision, which we're all facing from time to time. So I thought about the peacock as an animal that opens up his feathers for two very different reasons: protection and connection. To say, stay away, I'm a big animal, or hey, see how nice my wings are. And this idea made me realize that creating strength from something that doesn't have a structural integrity, actually just sheets of felt weaved on a very minimal structure, cannot just create the look of a peacock, but actually create the strength that the felt does not have on its own to hold a person. This chair actually got into the Metropolitan Museum when Rihanna got it, and it was an interesting debate for us on what's more important, pop culture or historical culture. My second point is about a comprehensive approach. Why are we limiting creativity to speciality? A lot of the problems that we have today needs to be solved across different disciplines. When we were invited to think about this large master plan in Istanbul, we realized that the client is basically asking us to solve a problem that they don't want to have. It's a cruise ship terminal that needs to be in that space, but it's the most valuable piece of land in Istanbul. And it's creating a disconnection between the rest of the Bosphorus front. So we realized that we need to change it from being a port to being grounds that people enjoy. So how do we actually hide the entire cruise ship terminal need and basically tuck it under the ground? This is going to be the very first terminal, cruise ship terminal, that is actually below sea level. And the idea is that this hydraulic platform brings hydraulic gangways that are taking the passengers straight from the boat into the basement level. So basically the entire neighborhood is open to the public, both when the ships are coming and when the ships are not there. Thank you. So when we are concentrating on the grounds, we're actually realizing that the buildings are pedestals for natures. You can actually enjoy those green roofs by looking at this beautiful Bosphorus, and the architecture is basically just sloping down towards the water. Luggage, travel. How can we create a luggage that supports our travel, supports our ever-changing needs? This is the very first hard case luggage that we made for Tumi that basically changes from 30 liters to 45 to 60 to accommodate our needs, to accommodate our travel. When we designed this, I realized that there is nothing more comfortable than a backpack, because your hands are free and you can move with your umbrella and your coffee, but you don't want to get to a certain meeting with a backpack. So how can you change it? How can you change it to accommodate your needs? So we're constantly thinking about our use first, and how can our products and our environment correspond to our need and to our use. My third point is about collaboration. Collaborating to innovate. Different thoughts, different perspectives, different ways, working with the best in class. When we were invited to work on this project in Abu Dhabi, they said, we want this to be the most luxurious island in the world. And I said, why would anybody want to buy a house and have 15 neighbors from the left and 14 neighbors from the right? I don't want to see anyone. I want to basically tack all those architectural buildings under this green vegetation. So I actually feel like I'm the only one in the island. This project was intended to be $150 million worth of sale. In 3 days, a little bit better than Avatar, it sold for $976 million. And we were very proud to realize that the idea that created this tacking of the architecture underneath nature was actually the things that created this idea of privacy being the most luxurious thing. My last point is about changing perspective. When we were invited to speak with NASA, we realized something very, very, very interesting. we realized that almost 50 years ago we landed on the moon. An event that changed our definition of hope and changed the world of possibilities. But what we've neglected to listen is to the fact that every astronaut that came back said the same exact thing. If every person on this planet would gain this perspective, it will change us as people. And what does that mean? How will it change us? We can't take everybody to the moon, not yet. But can we try and gain this perspective here on Earth? Can we actually try and create that type of perspective here on Earth? And that's what we set to do. We basically found a material, a nanotechnology material that have 99.97 non-emitting light surface. So you can actually be just a meter from a wall and have no idea that the wall is right there. If we can create a dome like that, and we can create an artificial lunar terrain, we can actually, for the very first time, experience what it's like being in the infinite blackness of space, and at the same time, the brightness of the sun. And this is the kind of art experiments we've never done before. So we realized that July 20th, 2019, we're going to celebrate 50 years anniversary. 50 years, and now we're going to be standing here looking back at ourselves. This project is about respect. It's about solidarity. It's about climate change, but not in the same way of saying we have to do something. Just look. Just listen. Step outside. Somebody recently told me that it's basically similar to out-of-body experience. When you experience an outer-body experience, something in you changes. So this is an outer world experience that we want to try and bring here. Passion for meaningful connection. Connection with people, connection with places, connection with the world. Comprehensive approach that does not limit creativity to one speciality. Collaboration for innovation and change of perspective. So this is what we do. Our greatest strength, in my opinion, lies in what we've never done before. And the importance of changing perspective is real. The world is changing fast. And what I'm about to share with you is something that I'm sharing for the very first time in this amazing audience, in this amazing space. It's about the fact that the world is changing very, very, very fast, and we're constantly facing walls. Wherever we are, New York, Los Angeles, every big city in the world, we're opening a window and we're facing a wall. And we cannot build like this anymore. We are part of nature. We need nature. Thank you. We need nature, we need light, we need air, we need real green, and we need real soil. So we need to build like nature. And we need to build with nature, because nature knows how to build better than we do. And we actually now have the technology to do that. Technology always dictated how we build. So if you think about it, we all played with building blocks, which is an incredible tool for imagination and creativity, but it made us think in boxes. It made us think in grids. And the world, nature, does not build like that. Nature does not build in boxes. Nature, in fact, builds like that, which is very little different. But it's a different that makes a lot of change. So that shift from thinking just in boxes to thinking in other forms made us realize that the world of possibilities beyond the 90 degrees is very interesting. So we started experimenting with different forms. And we realized that what we want to create is a connection between human and nature. How do we bring real soil into different architectural models? how do we bring soil into every floors of high-rise, and how we can create new typologies, new type of living environments that connects us with the future and create cities in different ways. This is one example of how those hexagons, which is basically the shape that we're calling a house, which I've been spending a lot of time wondering why every kid draw a house like that, even in places that they're not actually houses like this, because this is a symbol for protection. We're feeling protected when we have a roof above our head. So the idea of being able to actually walk above cities in green spaces and actually change the relationship between commercial and residential is something we have to explore. So we've been trying different components, different ways. It's not just hexagon. There is no one solution fits all. We need to try all kinds of different things that actually allows us to bring vegetation. An arch is extremely strong, and actually an arch form can support nature, can support soil. And we can actually think of a house right now just like a giant hydroponic system, right? So we have the ability to choose how much nature we want in our house. Thinking about that and realizing that it can look differently in different places, and that vegetation changes according to climate, but it also creating new type of vocabulary. So what we set to do is to create a lab that rethink building typology, a lab that focuses on connecting people with nature again. And the idea of this lab is a lab that we want to open in different places around the world, and basically bridge the gap between technology and nature. It's time to dream and realize and change the R&D to DNR. Instead of research, let's dream. And let's act on our dream and make them real. Thank you very much. Wait, I'm not letting 45 seconds go like this. Thank you.